we have A. Satyanarayana sir with us. He has been a teacher for last 26 years, and currently his designation is as a school assistant for biology. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, correct.
Welcome, sir.
Namaste, and namaste to all of you, all your team members.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So today specifically we have invited you, sir, to know a bit about what is pedagogy and to know about your work on pedagogy. Before that, sir, before we move on, I would like you to tell about yourself a bit and how come you ended up being a teacher. We would like to know that story as well.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to the Bhasha Lab team. And I wish everyone congratulations there who are there in the team who are watching this now. Myself, I am Satyanarayana Allam from Andhra Pradesh, Kadapa district. I joined my government service in 1995. So as a second grade teacher, where I worked in the primary school teaching all the subjects. So since 2000 till 2017. Meanwhile, I have worked as a resource person to the state programs, to the SCRT and to the Samagra Shiksha as well. So when I was in the primary school working as a second grade teacher, I used to work as a resource person to various programs like curriculum development, content development, question papers development, and teacher trainings at state level, district level, and so on. Later on in 2015 December, actually on the invitation of the director SCRT, I took a step to join the SCRT team as a program coordinator. So that time the SCRT was there in Hyderabad. Still, it was not shifted to Vijayawada. So we worked there for about 10 months, and later in 2016 September, I think we have shifted to Vijayawada. Because of the bifurcation of the state, we have moved to our state.
First of all, let's start with a very basic question, sir. As in, what do we understand by the term pedagogy, sir? As in, if somebody is hearing this term for the first time, so how will we explain this term to him? What is pedagogy?
Yeah, as most of us know, pedagogy is a method of teaching. This is the simplest definition that everybody knows. So there are different teaching methods which we have come across during our DA trainings and so on. Right. And the normal kind of teaching practice the teachers use in the classroom is a lecture method only.
Right.
So different teaching methods are adopted nowadays. Many innovative teaching methods are also adopted. Basically, to my understanding, all these teaching pedagogies fall under two categories, either teacher-centered or child-centered. So nowadays, as NEP suggests, and not only NEP 2020, even before that also many education policies designed by the central government also suggest a child-centered approach. So the innovative pedagogies now, which are really giving true results, are experiential learning. The students have to experience what they are learning in the classroom. Right. And integrated pedagogy. So not a single subject can be taught in an isolated way. So the subject has to be integrated with several other arts or sports or any other subjects which are interrelated with each other. Then only it becomes an integrated approach. And pure tutoring, peer tutoring, the students have to share their learning. They have to work in groups. They have to work in team, in collaboration or in association. Right. So this kind of approaches. And also textbooks and the local contents need to be added. So for example, the state government of Andhra Pradesh is trying to introduce CBSE syllabus in the coming academic years. But most of the examples, most of the illustrations in the textbooks are not local. They are taken from different parts of the India. Some examples are different parts of India where the students and teachers are not aware of them.
Correct.
So using local contents and local examples, local illustrations might be more useful to the students to understand the concepts better,
Right.
to have an experiential learning, even to show them or to demonstrate some examples in the class also. The example, the plans or any small tools or things that are available around the school vicinity can be possible, but the other examples which are given in the textbooks may not be brought to the class, which are not available there. So in the NEP, government has suggested four different stages of learning structure, that is 5+3+3+4. Maybe your team is also well aware of that.
Yes.
So here the foundational stage, at the foundational stage, the teaching method they are suggesting is multi-level play and activity based learning. So most of the students, they prefer to play, they prefer to enjoy the rhyme, singing, dancing, role play. So this kind of activities are encouraged at the foundational level, foundational stage. And next stage, that is pre-primary and class 1 and 2 of primary, all of them together up to 5 years. And preparatory stage, that is for classes 3, 4, 5, where the play method is once again suggested, and discovery. The students are allowed to discover certain things. So the teacher has to explore the various methods, various simplest possible approaches to the students, where they can discover something themselves and they can have confidence. They show some enthusiasm, they show some interest in finding the things. So the discovery methods are also much better pedagogic practices in the school for preparatory stage of students. And interactive classroom learning. This is always unavoidable option, where the interaction with the students is much more effective than simply delivering the content what the teacher is about to teach. So here, engaging the students in the classroom 100%, this interactive method is the only way. Otherwise, if the teacher is not interacting with the students, we may lose some of the students in the class. So they may not be catching up what the teacher is teaching. So like that, different practices, different pedagogical practices are suggested by NEP at different stages. And middle stage, they are saying experiential learning in sciences, maths, arts, social sciences, and humanities. So what I suggest here at middle stage, every school should have this infrastructure for providing experiential teaching or learning. For example, in many schools, the science labs are not in working condition, because I worked from school to the state office level. I know what are the aspirations, what are the projects taken up by the state, and what are the objectives, what are the key expectations of the program.
Right.
But when we look at the school, most of them have not reached to the school in reality. So Atal Tinkering Labs, for example, in some schools where the government have introduced these Atal Tinkering Labs are well established. But in some schools where the strength is very less, there is not a single lab to the students. So when without any infrastructure development in the school, we cannot attract the attention of the students towards learning practices. When there is some, actually, very recently, I came back from the SCRT and I started developing a biological science lab in my school with the help of the headmaster. So one lab is fully developed from a room which was earlier used as a garbage or a dumping room. So that room we have developed into a biological science lab. I will also share you the video, a small video of that. So now many specimens are provided in the lab. Many slides are provided in the lab. New microscopes are brought in, and tables to demonstrate experiments to the students are also procured. Projector is introduced. Actually, I have one projector which I was using when I was in SCRT, my personal projector. I implanted the same projector in my lab, and I am using that to show them some small concept videos.
Right.
So this has brought some change. I cannot say that it is a big change, overnight change, but the students are trying to see what is there in the specimens. They are gathering around, looking at the specimens. They are trying to see what is there in the slide. So this environment will create definitely a huge impact on the students. So practically providing the infrastructure and providing that learning atmosphere will bring a lot of change in the schools. So thereafter, the teacher also can show a lot of interest. So not only providing the infrastructure, when the infrastructure is provided, the teacher is also motivated to make use of it in a effective and better way.
Right.
Even the classroom sitting also, the students sitting in rows now, that is also not uh, suggest and not comfortable to go with the suggestions of the NEP. NEP says group learning, peer learning, experiential learning, and all. But the benches where the students are sitting in rows, that doesn't allow them to sit in groups and work in collaboration. So the teacher's mood, the teacher's attitude is also fixed. So when he enters the classroom, he has to deliver. So that atmosphere, that infrastructure doesn't help him in thinking in a different way. So the sitting arrangement also need to be changed, to change the attitude of the teacher, to change the thinking perspective, and also to bring a shift from learning lecture method to the classroom activity method, activity based method. So a lot of changes need to be brought into the school infrastructure, classroom infrastructure, development of lab, and also curriculum design also. The curriculum also should be designed in such a way that which facilitates all this in the classroom, in the school. Otherwise, see, earlier in SCRT, we have developed science textbooks with a lot of expectations. There are nearly 20 experiments in each topic, introduced, or in each topic introduced. So there is no room to the teacher to conduct all those experiments. Simply the teacher skips off all those experiments and finally he delivers what is the theory involved in that. But when the teacher is provided with a lab, and also when he has a rapport with the state level pedagogy team continuously, that will definitely bring some attitudinal change in the teachers. Once the training is over, again the teacher will go back and perform his own style of teaching.
Yes.
So this is what is happening there.
Correct. And that is what I wanted to ask you about, because usually what happens is when the teacher is new, okay, the teacher, they really want to deliver, they really want to, may ensure that the student learns. And in the first 2 years, they develop a pedagogy for themselves. They go back home, they do their homework, that no, I need to think as to how this has to be taught. And as over the years, as they grow in seniority, what we have seen is they start getting additional responsibilities, like now you do annual functions, now you do sports days, you do. So when all these responsibilities start increasing, what happens is this focus on pedagogy or reinventing what they had already made previously, a pedagogy. So they don't have time for all that. Okay, then they stick to the same pedagogy that they have that they discovered in the first 2 years for the rest of their teaching career.
Yes.
Right, that is what happens. And then you now said ki you have state teams, wherein state team, the teacher needs to have a good rapport with the state team, so that they know what new is coming up in pedagogy, what new can be taught. But sir, this connection, we usually don't see even in Maharashtra here, okay, or I don't know in your state also. This connection, the connection, the connection is not seen. Okay, the teachers don't have peers who know about pedagogy. The teachers don't have access to a network wherein they can go and they can ask, I want to do something more about it. And what happens every time is that every new teacher that gets introduced into the system, they start from zero. Everybody starts from zero,
Yes.
right? So nobody is building on each other's efforts. So that is the problem. So is there anything that can be done, or you all have already done, which can help the teachers to collaborate and work on pedagogy together?
Okay, let me tell you the answer to this question. So in that, when introducing that pedagogy, first we trained many master coaches at Rishi Valley Institute directly. So from each district, nearly 10 to 12, depending on the size of the district and requirement, 10 to 12. In some districts, we have taken 15 on 16 also. So altogether, nearly 200 to 250 master coaches were trained.
Right.
And this pedagogy was not introduced in all schools. It was piloted in nearly 1,500 schools, in 1342 schools in the first phase, taking 2 schools in each mandal. So this master coach is adapted nearly 10 schools. One master coach has to visit 10 to 12 schools, and he has to train the teachers. First, the teachers will be trained at mandal level, and after the training also, this master coach will be visiting these schools regularly because it's a new pedagogy. All the learning infrastructure is new. The content, the material, teaching learning material we have provided is new. So for to support this teacher, to scaffold the teacher, master coach help was taken. Actually, that worked very well. Many teachers were actually inspired and motivated by this pedagogy, and they also saw the results in the classroom. So they are going on well. And we also introduced the technology in this project. We have provided tabs. So 4 students can sit on around a tab and work on it. So in a school where the strength is 20, we have provided 4 tabs.
Right.
And the tabs are also loaded with the contents of MGML pedagogy. So the dashboard facility is there. Students' results can be uploaded. We can see the progress of the students milestone wise. So everything can be seen directly from the state office. So how many schools have completed the first milestone? How many schools are lagging behind? So all this can be seen at the state level. So this is under the control of the state when it is made online. But there are several difficulties. There were several challenges also in this. But the master coach support was very well worked. We took the support of the master coaches, and each master coach was adapted nearly 10 to 12 schools, where he is responsible for the implementation of this MGML pedagogy and to solve the pedagogic issues or any technical assistant is also there. Every district we have provided one technical assistant. If there is any technical issue in the tab, he will go visit, try to solve it there, and if it is not solved, he will replace the tab. So much support was given to these schools, and many state level review meetings, district level review meetings, follow up, and online view of schools progress, schools development. Everything was going on well. But this cannot be scaled up to the rest of the schools because of requirement of huge funds, where the tabs require a lot of fund. This is technology supported program. So these kind of issues were there. So if even whether it is a technology supported one or a non-technology one, we need to give such a support to the schools. Once the teachers are trained in an effective pedagogy practices, and once such infrastructure is provided in the schools, there must be a connectivity, there must be a close connectivity and close rapport, at least from district level to the schools where these programs are being implemented. Without follow-up, nothing we can yield, because they will go back to school, simply try to do the new things in 1 month. After that, again, they will go back to the routine practices. So that connectivity must be firmly established, and the teachers have to be, there must be, at least we can use this technology at state level to know which district is performing better, which mandal is performing better. how they are doing. So this can be
Implement.
tightly done. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Sir, any new school that is coming up, or all the schools right now,
Mm.
they try to tell the parents that we are providing holistic development,
Mm.
and even the new education policy, national education policy, also talks about the holistic development of the student. So,
Yeah.
what exactly is this holistic development?
Right. Okay. Holistic development, it involves, in my understanding, a responsible, making a student a responsible citizen,
Hmm.
who takes the ownership of the work he is doing, who will feel more responsible to the people working around him, or to the people with whom he live every day, and who is trying to contribute to his part to the country, is holistically developed. So there are several terms to explain the holistic development, like intellectual, social, emotional, physical, artistic, creative. So many words are there to express this. But a person who lives his life happily, who accepts the life the way it comes,
Hmm.
without many expectations, is living holistically. So the type of education which if we can provide that kind of education, that will be the holistic development, because most of the primary private schools will be pressuring the students on achieving this IIT or medical seat in private and government colleges, whereas, and that pressure is much more in Andhra Pradesh when compared to other districts, other states.
Hmm.
So the parents don't know the other options. The parents have only, they know only whether his son is going to become an engineer or a doctor. There are n number of career opportunities. So this has to be explored. This has to be brought to the broad vision of the parents. The vision of the parents has to be enlightened,
Right.
and the students also should be provided such career opportunities. And I like these vocational courses introduced at the school level, secondary school level, by the NEP 2020.
Hmm.
But some states are still lagging behind in introducing these vocational courses. So when such vocational courses are introduced in the schools, when the school management focuses on improving their life skills,
Hmm.
21st century life skills, like what they said: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. These nowadays, this communication is playing a major role.
Hmm.
Most of the engineering graduates also, without, as they lack these communication skills, they are unable to secure a job. So these kind of issues have to be sorted out at school level only. Every child has to be given opportunity to speak in front of the group, in front of the teachers, in front of the assembly, so they lose those phobias and try to come forward for every opportunity. See, in the school where I am working now, sometimes the students are begged to come forward to uh,
Ah,
conduct assembly.
right,
If,
right.
if the school people leader is absent,
Hmm.
the other students will remain silent.
Hmm.
The girl students are coming forward, whereas the boys are not coming forward.
Right.
So the many hindrances are there. So to overcome these kind of hindrances, the teachers have to start beginning these kind of practices, group working, group presentation, group discussion, from the classroom level, encouraging them. So
Got it.
it begins that way only, not in directly in any large group.
Right.
So
Sir,
yeah,
yeah.
please.
So,
Uh,
Girish, I would like to ask one question to sir.
yes.
Hmm.
Sir, what do you think about this concept of not having exams till, say, standard eighth, and only having exams after that? Can this approach help us to not associate learning with marks in the earlier standard education, and we can actually focus on learning and implementing different kinds of pedagogies?
Yeah, that works better. But when the teachers, the school management, everything works in a collaborated way. But in most of the schools, the teachers are responsible towards the exams only. If the students perform well, the teachers and management are judged because of the performance of the students and overall in school by the school. But if that assessment is not done, it will be again it will reflect on the teacher's performance in the school, because the teacher thinks that I am not assessed by the performance of the students, so I will take it easily. And the parents also doesn't have this much of understanding. So even though there is no exam, that my child is being assessed in the school through his interaction, through his projects, through his activities he is doing, through his presentations he is assessed. So this kind of assessment, the teachers and the school management are not able to explain it to the parents, particularly to the rural parents, effectively. So it might not be possible nowadays, because if the rural parents are, until they are educated, until they know all these assessment methods, different assessment methods, it won't be that easy to introduce that.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Sugra ma'am,
I
Nisha?
just wanted to say something. I think more than the school management or the teachers, I think it's the anxiety of the parents more than anything else, because they have to be competitive that my child got 99 and your child got 100, and why is your child lagging behind by 1 mark? So maybe it is more to do with the parents' mentality and psychology more than the effectiveness of what the teacher is doing, or the capability of the teacher. That's what I believe, because I am a teacher myself. And when the parents come and when we say that the child is singing well, or the child is doing well in sports, the first thing the parents will ask, but if the child learned ABCD, do they know their color and the other concepts? They're not really interested in the extracurricular. So as a teacher, for me, I have to judge them only through those things, as grading them whether they know the ABCD and numbers and concepts, not whether they are good in other extracurricular activities. So I think more than a teacher judging whether she's done a good job teaching the kids, I think it's the parents judging whether their child knows enough or not. That's what I believe in.
That is true, ma'am.
Right.
Yeah.
So from the discussion that is evolving, what I understand is that if we want to make a major change in pedagogy, there also has to be awareness among parents and the other stakeholders as to what is the objective of making this change, what is it that we can expect out of it, what are the outcomes that can be expected, and how students stand to benefit in the long run. So pedagogy cannot be just a one-off thing, it has to come along with the awareness efforts. And
and
Sir,
pedagogy here, pedagogy is not only the teaching method the teacher selects. So here I'd just like to tell you a few more examples.
Yes,
sometimes the interested teachers or interested headmaster will invite certain achievers to the school, like the alumni who studied in that school and reached to some higher posts, and some officers, district officers, police officers, or any good officer who is in good rank, or any socially responsible person. So inviting such people and conducting interactions with the students will also try to bring some change in the attitude of the students. Yes, this will be creating a lot of inspiration and motivation to study well and reach new heights. Not only that, sports person. In SCRT, we developed a curriculum for the physical literacy. When Sandhya Rani Madam was the Commissioner of School Education, that time she assigned this responsibility to me, though I don't know ABCDs of physical literacy. So we developed a curriculum with the help of Physical Education Department, Nagarjuna University, and along with our state resource team. But most of the teachers, physical education teachers, are not using this curriculum. If the teachers use this curriculum, invite sports person to the school, some of the students will be motivated to play better games in the field. So inviting achievers to the schools, motivators, will also show some impact on their learning. Yeah.
Sir, we are going to come to some of your projects because from what I see, you have worked on quite a few
Yeah.
projects and quite some learnings from those projects. But
Yeah.
before we move there, at the beginning you mentioned an approach, an integrated approach, right?
Yeah.
An integrated approach wherein you cannot just isolate a single subject. So we would like to know a bit more about it, sir, as to what can we expect out of this integrated approach.
Yes. Okay. So here, integrated approach means a subject to teach the subject effectively. The teacher can take the help of other subjects like art integration or sports integration, like that. For example, let me tell you one example I'll take: water cycle. So to explain the concept of water cycle, the teacher can sing a song on the water cycle rather than simply drawing a water cycle on the board and explaining it. The students can remember it for a long time by developing a cycle. Actually, when we were trained in the initial days of our entering into the service, one diet lecturer has sung this song for us. He was the trainer for us. So I still remember, I didn't even write that song in my notebook, but still I remember that song. So the same song, when a few days back, when I sang it for my students, they also caught it very interestingly, and they also started singing that. So, so this is art integration, and like that, role plays, conversation, discussion, performance. And another example for this Corona, to follow to implement the Corona safety guidelines in the school, we can take the help of art. Some students may enact the roles, how to maintain distance when they are approaching the teacher, when they are trying to show something to the teacher, when they are working in groups, how to maintain this social distance. So, or how to use mask in the classroom, how to wash their hands. All these can be enacted in the class or in front of the people in the assembly. So this is how we integrate art with the learning. So like that, several examples we can take. And sports, just now I was telling you that physical literacy, in the physical literacy, we have developed many small games for the learners. So teachers have to sit with the physical education teacher also, know about the game and how he can make use of that game while to teach either maths or science or humanity or any other thing. So this can be worked in integration together. Like that, integration of the subjects will definitely give better result than teaching it in an isolated way.
Right. Sir, got it, sir. One more thing that I understand is required in all individual schools is a culture of pedagogy. If you don't have that culture of pedagogy, even though a new teacher joins, even though they have some kind of motivation inside, it is not going to get the necessary push, right? The motivation also, because the culture is not there. So suppose now in the school that you are working, are there any kind of efforts wherein you all have this collaborative meetings wherein you all come together, then you talk about different pedagogies, or are there any collaborations happening?
Don't ask me difficult questions. Yeah, that was the thing I am telling you. Actually, when I came to this school, sorry, and this is not to discourage my colleagues. New building was constructed. Actually, that building was not in use. They started using it from this academic year only.
Right.
So our science lab, it was common. Actually, for physics and biological science, it was a common lab. And our colleagues preferred to use the room which is far away from the headmaster, which can hide them, which can be hidden from the vicinity of the visiting officers.
Right.
They preferred that room. When I asked them, No, if we are very close by to the office, everybody will come into our lab and criticize us.
Right.
So I took it as a challenge, and the very next room of the headmaster was used as a dumping room.
Yeah.
So I asked the headmaster, "Sir, I want to develop a biological science lab separately. I don't want to use the same in the physics lab.
Right.
So if you permit me, I will use this room." He said, "Okay, you do it."
Mm.
So we developed it, took it as a challenge and developed it just beside the headmaster's room.
Right.
So now they also got it. Okay, so if we truly want to make a change, we can make in the school.
Right. A follow-up question to this: is there a suppose I make you the headmaster of your school? Okay, now you are the headmaster of your school.
Okay.
Is there any way you would want to incentivize teachers to develop pedagogies or put in extra work or extra hours for that kind of work? That no, every week you have to sit down, you have to work together, you have to think about what new can be done. So would you be encouraging such kind of activities, or would you be? So my question is, suppose if you want to incentivize such kind of things, okay, so how will you go about with it?
Uh, um, you are asking me as a headmaster,
Yeah,
how will
you have the power, you have the power, you have all the power.
Yeah, I understand. Actually, whether I have power or not, even with the existing headmaster also, I'm expecting the same. When there is a staff meeting, there must be some agenda. Unfortunately, in most of the schools, when the staff meeting happens, it is not on the academic issues, on administrative issues or something like that. But even in Andhra Pradesh, the government has introduced many schemes for the benefit of the students.
Right.
Nadu Nedu. Actually, I welcome that program because the government is taking interest in developing the infrastructure in schools like in Delhi. And in the first phase, they have covered nearly 15,000 schools. And in the second phase, they are going to cover nearly 18,000 schools. So the infrastructure is going to be totally changed. So the headmaster need not to be worried about the development of the infrastructure. He has to make use of that opportunity and inculcate the habit of this practicing new pedagogical practices in the school. Very recently, the Diksha trainings were conducted online. Most of the teachers have gone through the Diksha app and completed the course.
Right.
But none of them are using those practices. They are simple. We have simply completed the online courses, and truly speaking, we don't know what is there in the content. Simply at the end, there is a simple assessment, and we try to get through that.
Right.
But as a headmaster, the headmaster has to have an agenda when he is sitting with the staff. He has to discuss what practices are giving good result, what practices are not giving result, what happens, what can I do for this.
Right.
So it is the total responsibility and ownership of the headmaster where he can try to develop a lot in the school. And there are certain examples where the headmasters have taken this ownership. Those schools are flourishing like anything. The staff are fully cooperating with them. It all depends on the headmaster, sir. Of course, there may be a few exceptions. 1-2 cases are politically influenced teachers will be there. They will not listen to him. Leave them aside. But the rest of the teachers will be in total cooperation with the headmaster if they feel that he is honestly doing this job. So that kind of personality, the teacher and the headmaster has to reflect on the teachers, on the school. Then everybody will cooperate. If the headmaster is showing some partiality or he's also busy with his own avocations, then nobody can save the school. But if the headmaster is truly working for the school, definitely the staff is there to cooperate with him.
I got it, sir. So
Yeah.
so we are saying that it has to come from the top.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Before moving towards the multi-grade project that you all had with Rishi Valley, I would just like to ask, anybody has any kind of questions for sir right now? Anybody? Okay. So, sir, we would like to know about your project, the wherein the teachers had to teach multi-grade, multiple grades. So,
Yes.
what are you calling it? You took some name, MG.
That is MGML pedagogy. It is the name given by Rishi Valley itself.
Okay.
The project name we have given is ALA, Ananda Lahari Abhyasana.
Okay.
In short, it is ALA.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is the problem that we are addressing there?
So here, in primary schools, most of the primary schools, nearly 80% of the primary schools are multi-grade. The schools which are running with one or two teachers.
Right.
The classes are from 1 to 5, but there will be only one teacher depending on the strength. If the strength is below 20, only one teacher is given.
Right.
And from 20 to 40, two teachers will be working. And 40 above, 3 teachers will be working up to 60, like that. For every 20, they will add one teacher. So most of the primary school strength will fall below 40 only. So where the one teacher or two teachers have to handle 5 classes, 1 to 5. And in each class, each teacher has to handle 4 subjects. So first language, Telugu, English, maths, and science.
Right.
So this is a very big challenge to the teachers, where he cannot spend his time in a separate way to each class. There is only one teacher. He has to teach. He has to transact to both the classes at a time. And the other teacher also has to transact 3 classes at a time.
Right.
So where he cannot complete the syllabus, where he cannot deliver quality teaching, he cannot engage them in different activities if he wants to. So in this situation, actually, why there is poor result in the primary schools, even in the ASER survey and so many other surveys also, it is reflected. The 5th class students is unable to do 2nd class problem. So this kind of issues were there.
Right.
So when we came across this problem, it was discussed in the lab, and even before I attended the lab, I participated in the Rishi Valley seminar, I told you, where the Rishi Valley is implementing this pedagogy, MGML pedagogy, multi-grade and multi-level pedagogy.
Okay.
So multi-grade is the problem which I explained you. Multi-level, in the same class also, the students are at different levels.
Right.
So how to teach them separately? How to give some kind of extra support to the students who are lagging behind? Right. So this is also addressed by the MGML pedagogy. So where they developed learning ladders. They have learning ladders. So for example, in Telugu subjects, they may have some 12 to 15 ladders. So this teaching learning ladders are common for both class 1 and 2.
Okay.
The activities are different for class 1 and class 2 students, but the beginning will be common for both. So the teacher can teach the same thing at a time to both the classes, and the teacher can engage the students in different groups. There will be 4 groups: self-supported group, peer-supported group, partially teacher-supported group, totally teacher-supported group. So like that, 4 groups are there in their class. Right. So self-supported group, the student can do himself. He doesn't require the help of the teacher. And peer-supported, where the peers help in solving or in writing or in reading the text or in understanding it or solving the problem. So like that is peer support. And partially teacher support. The teacher will give some instructions by sitting with them for a few minutes, and he can be saying overall class performance, class engagement. Whereas completely teacher supported group, where the teacher has to sit with him he has to spend more time with him. Right. So like that, 4 groups are there. And these learning ladders are developed in every subject. So, and the timetable is also framed in such a way that there is the teacher can handle 2 subjects in a day, in the morning shift, and 2 subjects in the afternoon. So first there will be some initial introductory activities, and there will be some practicing activities and assessment activities and so on. So in the assessment, if the child is able to perform better, then he will go on to the next milestone or next activity. So this was their pedagogy. Whereas in our curriculum, we had a different curriculum. Actually, Rishi Valley is also working under AP government. They don't use this curriculum. They have developed their own ladder system. So now, how to integrate this ladder system into our curriculum? This was the big challenge for us. So our team, we went after coming into agreement with the Rishi Valley. So our team, core team, we call them, nearly 30 to 40 members were there in the core team. So the core team went there. We had many meetings with the Rishi Valley team. Vetting meetings happened. We studied exclusively both the curriculum, what they are using, what we are using. Then we thought, okay, we can also bring our lessons into, we can change, we can convert our lessons also into ladders.
Okay.
So the existing curriculum have been built up in the form of ladders, and the teacher's work is made easy here. So the teacher who is handling class 1 and 2 can go by ladders. Now we told them, no, you need not use textbook, because what is there in the ladder, it is there from the textbook only. Because most of the teachers will be confused. They asked many questions.
Right.
Should we teach both now? Is it going to be difficult? How difficult it is? No,
Right.
to make your work easy only, we brought this pedagogy. Now textbook and ladder are same. You keep the textbook aside. Of course, if there are some activities prescribed in the ladder somewhere, page number 20 to 21, do the activity from the textbook, then only the student has to open the textbook and do that activity in the textbook. So this kind of ladder system was brought in, and some activities were also given on the tab, and students assessment is also done on the tab.
Right.
So how many milestones they have completed and all, they can study in the dashboard. So that was the biggest project we have taken up and succeeded also. Many teachers have really, they are really worried when the government changed, when we could not take this project forward. Most of them, they expressed their concern. Sir, it is a really very good project. We saw the result in the students.
Right.
But
Right. So how is it working? How is it performing right now? It's doing good.
Right now, we can say that the project is stopped because in the 17-18 academic year, we introduced this for class 1 and 2. After that, there was a gap in 18-19 year.
Okay.
And in 19-20, we introduced for 3, 4, 5 classes. And later on, the government is changed, and actually the new government is also interested in the project.
Right.
But due to Corona, the schools, we could not run the schools for a long time. So after that, I think right now, currently, I'm not in SCRT. I think the government is not interested in going ahead in this project.
Got it, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, another question.
Yeah.
So what role does a local language or mother tongue play in, developing effective pedagogy? So do you think mother tongue local language really helps?
Yeah, that really helps. That is needed actually, because the child learns what he hears at home is local language only. What he talks to his neighbors or family members or friends is local language only.
Right.
And around him, he observe those things. He knows the names of the objects, everything in his language only.
Right.
So by ignoring local language, we can't go ahead.
Right.
So that plays a very important role. But the teacher has to introduce the other language, that is English, or what is the second language. So the teacher has to introduce these words also parallelly in the school. So he can megaphone those words, so the child can catch what is the other name of this.
Right.
Also.
Right.
Yeah.
Sir, one major challenge and this problem we were discussing in the first discussion also, wherein Subra ma'am brought up this question, wherein her question was, see, if the teacher has to teach students with many backgrounds, because in a classroom, there is a mix of students, right?
Yes,
People
yes.
belonging from many different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So it is not possible for a single teacher to cater to local languages of all these guys, okay, all these people. So is there anything we can do about it? How do we address this issue wherein, okay, we want to teach in a local language, we know, what kind of benefits it's going to give, but
Mm,
because of this problem, wherein
mm,
there are too many people from different backgrounds, we are not able to deliver. So what can be done about this, sir?
mm. Yeah, this is maybe you have in Maharashtra, you have this kind of problem more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
here
yes.
also in border districts, we have this kind of problem.
Mhm.
Um, so he has to give equal importance to all the languages spoken in the class. So he cannot say no to any speaking of any language in the class to the students. If the students expresses his answer or he tries to reply to the teacher in his own language, teacher have to accept it. Also, he has to convince him to understand the thing in the other language spoken in general in the area. So we cannot say no to any language speaking in the class, where they can take the help of his peer students. If the student is unable to understand because maybe the medium of instruction may be Telugu in Andhra Pradesh. The child is expected to read in Telugu. Of course, he is learning. While learning Telugu, he may be influenced by his mother tongue. He may not be able to speak it properly. He may not be able to read it properly, but he can take the help of his peers. He can take the help of his teacher or
Right.
who knows both the languages well. So, but he must be allowed to speak in the language where uh, he
Got it.
is doing that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Last question from my side, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, they have also mentioned about flexibility of course choice. Okay,
Okay.
that they are going to allow some flexibility in with what kind of courses you can choose. Can you tell
Yes.
us a bit more about it, sir, as to how that can work?
Yeah, actually, this is needed in states like Andhra Pradesh because the teachers and parents' focus is totally on maths and science streams only,
Hmm.
where the parents are unaware of different options, career options.
Right.
So this kind of debates, seminars, everything has to happen on a large scale in many schools, inviting the parents, society, and the achievers of uh, these career options. Whether it can be online possible, of course, we may not bring everybody to the school,
Right.
so it can be done through online also. The vision of the parent has to be changed. Yes, these are the various career options, and also keeping the interest of the students in mind. The students' interest is much more important than the other thing here, because most of the students are weak in maths, but they might be good at doing carpentry or any other work, painting. See, in the lab which I developed in my school,
Yes.
the students only painted the walls.
Hmm.
They did the work very fantastically.
Hmm.
So I came to know that they work in their holidays.
Right.
They go and work.
Right.
So the profession which is he is very much interested, or the skill which he knows, has to be encouraged, and he has to be shown the career options to the highest level in that profession or in that skill if he upskills himself. So more exposure to the community is needed on these vocational courses, and the government also has to implement it very seriously. Of course, in every school, these professional skills may not be introduced because there are schools where strength is very less, 100, 150 like that. So in such schools, it may not be possible. But if there are schools with good strength,
Hmm.
and in at least if they begin in such schools, seeing the potentiality, seeing the interest of the students, this can be scalable. But introducing vocational courses is very important because while developing the happiness curriculum for Andhra Pradesh, we visited Delhi. We had visited some schools. In the schools, in the principal's room, they served us some snacks, coffee, etc. And finally, we came to know that the snacks were prepared by their vocational students
Wow.
only.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt very happy, and also thought that this kind of vocational courses have to be introduced at secondary and senior secondary schools in Andhra Pradesh. Otherwise, majority of the school students, once they lose their they lose their subjects in 10th class while getting through the 10th class, they will be engaged in some auto. I mean, and they will be engaged as auto drivers, or they will
Right.
lose their careers, and they are spoiled.
Right.
So if we introduce vocational courses in schools wherever they are possible, at least majority of the students, we can propel them towards these different courses and career options.
So that was supposed to be my last question, but you mentioned about happiness index. Now you have to tell us about that.
Yeah, very recently I saw one message in one WhatsApp group. Uh, Searching for happiness is the real cause of unhappiness. So accept the life the way it comes. That is the only way you can keep yourself happy.
Right. Right.
Yeah, actually in Delhi it was introduced first. So our government was also interested in developing this kind of curriculum for the social and emotional well-being of the students, because in the schools we are teaching them math, science, social, everything, but we are not teaching them emotional balance, how to maintain emotional balance, how to live happily, how to share their emotions, how to understand their emotions, in what emotional condition I am right now. Is it true? Is it correct or not? So this kind of emotional and social development activity is much needed in government schools, particularly in private schools, not in government schools. Actually, when we conducted one meeting in Rajamandri, most of the private school managements were also invited. So they came to me and they said, "Sir, this is truly required in private schools, sir, not in government schools, because there is a lot of pressure on the students. Nobody is talking about the moral. Nobody is talking about the social and emotional balance and this kind of things." So that was the curriculum we developed in 4 levels. So for primary schools, 2 levels of books were developed. And for high schools, high school from 6th to 8th class, we have developed only one level of book. For 9th and 10th class, we have developed one volume that is based on basically some the soft skills, what we have been discussing, the creative thinking, critical thinking, solving the issues, addressing the problems, this kind of soft skills we have focused on. Whereas in the other things, we have taken different values like true, being true, honest, empathy. So these kind of several values have been taken. So to develop or to inculcate these values in the students, we have taken 3 different genres. Story is one genre, and activity is another genre, and mindfulness activities also we have introduced. So mindful listening, mindful breathing. So this kind of practices are also given, and that really some of the teachers loved that. Actually, to the school, after introducing that program, when I came back to join in my school, one of the teachers was carrying that book to the class.
Achha.
I asked him, "Why are you carrying this book?" "No, sir, I will never leave this book. This will be always with me, because there are many important things in this to teach to the students."
Right.
So in between, I use this book and tell them some moral stories in the class. Yeah, we have given separate time for the implementation of this program. And the first 30 minutes, the Ananda Vedika has, the name of the program is Ananda Vedika.
Okay.
So the first 30 minutes, they have to conduct this program. Then only they have to start their regular classes.
So it was very nice talking to you today, sir. Lots of insights and lots of new things that we got to know today. And I'm quite sure you have, many more things to share. because 26 years is quite some time to be in a profession.
Thank you, Girish sir. I'm very happy to be a part of your team today
Thank you.
to share my experiences and also to listen from you.
We are honored, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.